Hi there, my name is Athel, this is Ask Athel Anything, and I play smart guy on the internet answering your questions about love, sex, happiness, and anything. And if you have a question for me, you can send it to askathel@gmail.com. So let's jump to this one. And here's the subject line, and as soon as I read the subject line in the email, I knew exactly sort of where we were going. So the subject line is building attraction in a wife whose love language is acts of service. So building attraction in a wife whose love language is acts of service. Now, and if you've read my stuff, and particularly if you've watched the video series, The Married Guy's Guide to Wife, I cover what I call the chain of seduction model, which is in the 6 links in the chain. The first is your physicality. The second one is your attraction building. The third link is your comfort building, so basically the love languages. And then after that is the energy, initiations, and consummation links in the chain. And you need to basically pass the test or the goals or the things you need to do in each link before you have any real positive effect in the links below it. So you need your physicality basically together before you can really start building on attraction, and you need attraction together before you can really start building on relationship comfort. So when they say building attraction in a wife, attraction whose love language is acts of service, comfort, you know they're running into an enormous problem because they are trying to perform acts of service, which is just going to create relationship comfort and hopefully a sense of affection, when there's a lack of attraction. So all that's going to happen is he's going to go round and round. It's going to get worse and worse. He's going to be incredibly frustrated. And let's see how the rest of this question goes. My wife and I took the love languages quiz at my own urging because I was trying to figure out how to build both comfort and attraction in what's become clinically a sexless marriage. My fear came true when she came back with acts of service as her prime love language. Mine is touch. We both come in with words of affirmation at a close second. And it's actually kind of jumping at me. Why did you say your fear came true when she came back with acts of service? And I kind of suspect that acts of service is now being sort of translated to, well, because your love language is acts of service, you've got to do a whole bunch of housework and chores, and she gets to sit on the couch and not particularly do anything. You do a whole bunch of stuff for her, becoming her golden chore boy, and she lives like a pampered princess. It continues. I'm having a hard time imagining how to balance the acts of service love language with the dominance you describe as necessary to build attraction. I'm beta through and through and working on it, but when I refuse to do something she's asked of me, it doesn't seem to be working to bring her into my orbit. Okay, so this again is the problem. If you have created this mindset where you are her magical chore boy and she is used to you doing everything, and you are never particularly standing up for yourself or asserting yourself, when you first start saying no to things and start asserting yourself, there's always going to be a level of pushback. And I also suspect that if she knows of the acts of service, it just becomes a justification of why you should be doing things. Like, my love language is acts of service, therefore you should be doing all the chores. You're not doing all the chores, so how can you possibly love me? And you kind of get caught up in your own trap. Again, and none of this is finding ways to actually create attraction to her. About all it can really do in terms of saying no to a few things is stopping an endless display of low value, killing her attraction. Okay. Meanwhile, I resent tremendously having to do acts of service. It's not in my nature. I find even when she says thank you, I have a hard time feeling good about myself. The imbalance between having to do things for someone versus them just having to touch you or let you touch them, and when they won't, doing acts of service feels like self-abuse. Okay. The whole thing of acts of service and touch and gifts and all that sort of stuff is meant to be something that you are actually doing from a really sort of positive place of enjoyment and appreciation and sort of genuine affection. If you're doing what you think is an act of service for someone and you are basically resentful and negative and pissed off and frustrated about it, they will pick up on that. And instead of it being a positive thing, it can actually turn into a negative thing. And in fact, you may be better off doing nothing, not even trying to do acts of service, than trying to do some sort of act of service from a sort of a cranky, resentful, pissed off place. Like, I'm doing all this stuff for you, therefore you should be touching me and doing things back for me, and yada, yada, yada. That's all horribly negative. It is costing you time, energy, and effort, and it's probably being a little bit counterproductive. So don't force yourself into this whole acts of service thing. And it goes on. What am I missing here? How do I differentiate between a fitness test and a request she's making to feel loved? And how do I balance the dominance into it? I've scoured the internet and found nothing so far. Okay, so like I said before, all really saying no to the acts of service is doing is stopping an endless display of low value where you're just your magical chore boy. And I think for the moment, I think you need to stop worrying about whether she is fitness testing you, whether or not there's some sort of loyalty testing. I think you need to stop worrying about whether or not she is touching you, whether or not you're doing acts of service right. I think to a big extent, all of this has just become a giant red herring of sorts that is just exhausting you and tiring you and frustrating you. And I actually got a whole nother extra question from this guy that is basically a repeat of this to a degree, where he talked about some of that bigger imbalance where he was doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I have a little additional information. So what I think you need to do right now is, like I say, stop thinking about all the things you could be, should be doing, and come up with what really should be a pretty fair and balanced sort of contribution from the two of you into the sort of household tasks and chores and things that you need to do. And basically just try and make that an even 50-50 split of things to do. If that is going to get a massive pushback because you've been doing 80% and she's been doing 20, well, yes, you have been failing a colossal fitness test that is much larger than any one act of service. And you really are going to need to say no to a bunch of stuff and, balance that out. You need to stop the endless display of low value. So just as a basic principle, try and find a way to balance the chores and think to do 50-50. The second thing I think you can do is, because your love language is acts of service, that means you should be able to get some sort of positive response from that when you actually do things for her that's just a little bit special and is far more intentional in something that you want to do. So I would still pick one or two small tasks that you can do each day where you can say, this is just something she likes, I can do it, and I can do it from a place where I am happy and content, and I can do it without any real expectation of she's going to do anything back for me. You're just going to do that act of service from the same sort of spirit that you would be liking her to touch you and be open to touch with. So you need to extract that sense of chore from the act of service. The chore is negative, it's work, it's a task that you have to do, yada, yada, yada. But the act of service is something you do simply because you like her and love her and enjoy helping, and that she enjoys receiving this sort of thing. The third thing I think you need to do is really, really consciously start thinking about what are the things that really build attraction that you can do that will build her attraction to you. And I absolutely think in terms of that stuff, you need to not think of the 5 love languages. The 5 love languages is it's a good book. It's a really fantastic tool for working out what creates relationship comfort and that sense of affection. And it is absolutely terrible in terms of thinking what actually truly creates attraction. Like, what was it about you when you first got together in the beginning of the relationship where she said, oh my God, I've really got to be with this guy. He does this, that, and the other, these cool things. He's this sort of person. I'm attracted to this sort of person. So you see how you've got to pass that attraction sort of link in the chain of seduction before you're going to get any credit at all in terms of really creating comfort by being nice, pleasant, agreeable, helping out, giving a gift, spending time with you. She needs to be attracted before you get any real credit for creating comfort. And that's one of the primary confusion points most guys have. They think if they do a whole bunch of nice stuff, it's going to create attraction. It can often create a sense of comfort and affection. They can like you. It's all stuff that can kind of put you in the friend zone. It's not the stuff that creates attraction. And I have a couple of great videos on this if you go back to the website and look for the Married Guy's Guide to Wife series. The first two videos, I mean the whole series is paid, but the first two videos, which are like 45 minutes long each, they're both free. You can download them and watch them. It's going to cover some of the stuff in a lot greater detail, but that's your primary confusion point. Creating attraction versus creating comfort. And like I say, 3 things to do. Even out the household tasks. Second one, find one or two things that you can do each day that are an active service that she's actually going to like, and do it from a positive place. And really think about what actually truly creates attraction to her for you. Now, and for now, don't worry too much about the love languages. Don't worry about them too much. That's a little bit of a red herring for now. And that's it. I think I will leave it there. That was a great question. Keep them coming. My name is Athel K, and you should do all that cool internet stuff like leaving comments, liking, subscribing. And until next time, wishing you all the love, sex, and happiness, and I will catch you next time. Alrighty, bye.